guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag for 2022, and I cannot believe that half the year has already passed. By the time you probably see this video, it's going to be closer to July at this point, but I am so excited to do this video. This is one of my favorite tags that I see go around every year. At this point, my goal for the year was to read 60 books, and I've actually already completed my goal. I'm just over 60 books for the year, which I'm really excited about, and I'm shocked that I was able to complete that so quickly. So I had obviously quite a few books to choose from when going through these questions, and of course I ended up repeating some books for a couple of these questions, which I was trying so hard not to do, but I just could not help myself. So you're going to hear a couple of repeats, but we will go ahead and get started. So the first question is the best book that I've read so far in 2022. And that would have to be a more recent read, and that is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I really enjoyed this. If you haven't watched my standalone review for this book, I mentioned in that I am a huge Jurassic Park fan, and I have loved the entire movie series for this book. And I recently found out that that whole franchise was based off of a book by this author, and I did not realize that. So of course, once I found that out, I went ahead and picked up the book, and I freaking love this one. I of course gave it 5 stars. I mentioned it also in that video that I feel like if you have not read Jurassic Park, but you are a fan of the movie, that I would definitely check this out because it is very different from the movie. Of course, there are some similarities here or there. Characters are the same, but what happens between the book and the movie are definitely different, and I do think that you get a different experience. So I really enjoyed this. Love the characters, love the science behind everything, love the action with the dinosaurs. So this is definitely one of the best books that I've read so far in 2022. The next question is the best sequel that I've read in 2022. And that would have to be Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. I guess this would be more of the conclusion to a trilogy. And I freaking love this. I loved this trilogy as a whole. If you guys have not read the Greenbone Saga, I would highly recommend. And so this version of the book that I'm holding up matches my Jade City that I have up there, but this is what I got from Illumicrate. But this trilogy is just amazing from start to finish. I'm not even going to go into all of that. I do have a standalone series review for this if you have for some reason not even heard of what the Greenbone Saga is about, but this is something that I would highly recommend. It is an adult fantasy series, and because I actually have enjoyed this so much, Fonda Lee has recently released a spin-off novella that I think is set in this world, but a few years before the events of Jade City take place, I believe. So I went ahead and picked that up. But if you have not read the series, I would highly recommend this. So the next question is a new release I haven't read yet, but I want to. That would be Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. And I recently got this, and this is one of the books that I bought for myself for my birthday. I am so excited to get this. I believe this is an adult fantasy, but this is supposed to be about these 2 children that have these supernatural powers. That's technically all that I know about it. It's set in England in the 1800s, I think the late 1800s. But I so far have heard nothing but good reviews over this, and it's a huge chunky book, and I am so excited for this. This is one of those books that I feel like I'm going to love, but I'm also scared to start it because I don't want to not love it. And so I don't know, but I plan on reading this pretty soon. but this is one that I'm super excited about. It was one of the books that I put in my most anticipated reads for the year, so I cannot wait to jump into this one. The next question is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I actually have 2 books for this one. So the first one is going to be Babel by R.F. Kuang, and that is the author that did the Poppy War trilogy, and I believe this book is supposed to come out like towards the end of August. All I know about this book is it's supposed to be like a dark academia setting, and I literally don't know anything else about it. I'm pretty sure that I read the synopsis at some point, but I've forgotten it. So that's all that I remember. It's supposed to be like a dark academia setting. I have saw people do reviews, but the only thing that I want to know about the reviews that I've listened to is whether or not people like it. And so I've so far heard that people have enjoyed it. That's all that I want to know. I don't want to be spoiled for anything about it because I'm so excited about it. So that's my first one. And then my next one that I'm really excited about that doesn't come out until the beginning of November is Gleanings by Neil Shusterman. And it's a collection of short stories that is supposed to be a part of the Arc of the Scythe trilogy. And I am really excited about that because I really enjoyed that trilogy. I wasn't the biggest fan of book 3 in that trilogy, but the first 2 books I really enjoyed. But I had no idea that this was coming out. And so I was like randomly on Barnes & Noble's website. And when I saw this, when I saw a copy of this floating around, I was like, oh my God, I need this. And I know as soon as that book comes out, I will probably stop everything to pick that up. So those are the 2 books that I'm really excited about. The next question is my biggest disappointment of 2022, and that unfortunately would have to be Ashes of Gold, which is the second book in the Wings of Ebony duology by the author J.L. 2 reasons why this is a huge disappointment for me. One, because this was one of my most anticipated reads of 2022, and the fact that I didn't like it was a huge disappointment. And number 2 was because I loved Wings of Ebony, which was the first book. I even put it on my list of top 5 books of 2021. So the fact that I didn't like this was an even bigger disappointment. So, like I said, this was the second book in the duology. My main reason on why I just did not like this book was because our main character of Rue just went in a totally different direction that I did not like. At the end of Wings of Ebony, she was just like this really strong character that was like ready to take on the world. In Ashes of Gold, that is not the character that we got. I don't know where this girl came from that we got in Ashes of Gold. Not only did I not like the character of Rue, but then we got this like weird love triangle in this story that I wasn't really feeling. And then we got this plot of betrayal that came out of nowhere from a character that I don't feel like it should have came from. And then there was just like a lot of plot conveniences throughout this story. I just didn't like it. I did not like it at all. I have a whole video dedicated to this book, along with another book that I was really disappointed with, and that title of that video was called I'm Disappointed. I'm just really shocked at just like the turn that duology took after how much I really enjoyed that first book. That first book is still a 5 stars for me. I ended up rereading it before reading that second book, but yeah, Ashes of Gold just did not work for me at all. The next question is the biggest surprise. And for that one, I chose The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I was totally caught off guard by how much I enjoyed this book. This was another book that I ended up rating a 5 stars for this year. And just to give you a little bit of background of what I've read by Riley Sager so far, besides this one, I've only read The Final Girls, which I thought was fine. And then I read Survive the Night. I personally thought that one was fine too. I know that is not a fan favorite, But out of those 3 books that I've read, I really enjoyed this one. I liked the flashbacks that we got in this. I liked trying to figure out the mystery plot in this. I liked the supernatural part of this. And I liked the plot twist, especially the last plot twist that we got in this book. So I really enjoyed this one. I still think I have like 2 other books of Riley Sager's to catch up with before his newest one comes out. Don't think that I'll get to those before his new book is released, but I mean, out of the ones that I've read so far, this one is definitely my favorite. And like the question says, I was definitely surprised to like this one as much as I did. The next question is new favorite author, and I would just have to say hands down it's going to be Fonda Lee. I did start reading her at the end of 2021, so I'm definitely going to count her because I finished up her Greenbone Saga series in 2022. Going into that series, I was kind of hesitant on whether or not I was going to enjoy it as much as everybody seemed to enjoy that series. I just thought it was a lot of hype. I was like, there's no way that the series is going to be as good as everyone is claiming it to be. But it totally blew me away. I loved a majority of the characters. I loved all the action. I loved just the general plot of that. So she is definitely one of my new favorite authors. At this point, anything that she probably comes out with, I'm going to pick up because I just love her writing style. I love the way that she tells her stories. So I would definitely have to say she's probably going to be one of my new favorite authors. The next question is newest fictional crush. And I honestly don't have fictional crushes, I guess. So again, I'm going to have to bring up Jade Legacy and just throw out, I guess, Hilo from there, because out of all the other books that I've read, there's nobody that I would say that I would have a crush on. But if I just had to pick a male character, it would have to be him because he's just a badass. I mean, there's nothing else that I could say besides that. So the next question is newest favorite character. And I had 2 characters for this one from 2 different books, and both of these books that I'm going to talk about, I rated them both of 5 stars. So this first one, I chose Queenie from the book Queenie by Candace Carty Williams, and I read this toward the beginning of the year. And so I picked this one because I felt like in this book, Queenie is very relatable, especially with the things that she went through. And so in this one, we are just following Queenie as she is dealing with a breakup that was difficult to her, and we are watching her as she is making all of these terrible decisions trying to cope with the breakup from her boyfriend. I just think that she is a very relatable character as far as the decisions that she's making and how she is dealing to cope with that. And then I just loved all of the side characters that she interacts with her best friends and then her family. And then we are seeing how she deals with her trauma. It talks a lot about her trying to go into therapy and how that's not accepted within her family and her community. And so I just feel even if you can't relate to everything in this book, I feel like somebody will be able to relate to something that Queenie is going through. And so I really enjoyed this book, and if you have not picked this one up, I definitely would recommend this one. And then the same thing could be said for the character in this one. And so this one is Black Girls Must Die Exhausted by Jane Allen. And so this book is following our main character Tabitha, and she is in her 30s. She is dealing with this medical diagnosis she just received at the very beginning of the story. She has to try to figure out exactly what her next steps are going to be in her life. She's dealing with her relationship issues, dealing with the next steps in her career. She's also trying to deal with her friends' issues. And so basically we're just following her life as she is trying to navigate all these different avenues that she has to go down with trying to figure out what is going to be next for her in her life. And I just felt like Tabitha and what she is going through is what so many people, especially Black women, are going through in their early 30s. And I really enjoyed this. Both of these books, Queenie and Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, I just feel like women, Black women especially, who are in like their mid 20s to early 30s, can definitely appreciate what both of these characters are going through and probably can find something relatable to both of these. So I really enjoyed these and would highly recommend. Like I said, I gave both of these books a 5 stars and think you guys should pick these up. The next question is a book that made you cry. This was a hard one because I don't cry in books, and it's even kind of hard to make me like tear up in a book. You can get a book to make me like happy, you can make me laugh, you can make me sad, but literally to like have a tear like pop out of my eye, that's hard. I've never cried from a book. Like, if you guys can even recommend a book that you think would make me cry, I would love to see it, because it is hard to pull that emotion out of me while reading a book. It's just not gonna happen. So the closest thing that I can think of, and this is going to be the last time that I will mention this book in this video, but that is going to be Jade Legacy. This one, I just think it just had my emotions all over the place. And I think a big part of that in this book was because I had seen a lot of people like reacting to this while they were reading it. And so while I was reading this one, I was like on the edge of my seat the entire time, because I was just like waiting for something to happen, and like my nerves didn't know how to deal with that. But there were some really sad and emotional parts in this book that just left my mouth hanging open. But still, as far as like crying, no, it still didn't make me cry. Was I sad? Of course. But cry? No. Like, I just can't. I've just never cried during a book. Nope, I can't. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I just have never cried. Have I cried during movies? Yes. Yeah. But in a book, I don't know. It's just hard for me to get that emotion. Like I said, if you guys can recommend me a book that you think would make me cry, I'd love to see it. Anything that's not A Little Life by whatever that author's name is. I'm not reading that. Nope. I don't care for it. But yes, this is as close to a cry as I've gotten this year so far. So the next question is a book that made me happy. And for that one, I chose Mickey 7. And so this one is an adult science fiction. I really like this one because of the characters in this one. And I guess technically I could have chosen this one for that question, your new favorite character. But I decided to put this one here because this book also made me happy. And I guess I'll explain this one in order to be able to tell you exactly why the characters made me happy in this one. So in Mickey 7, we're following Mickey Barnes. He's on this planet. He's considered an expendable. And what that basically means is that they can make clones of Mickey. And so his job as an expendable is he takes on these like really dangerous assignments that can basically get him killed. And if he does die, then what they do is just technically make another clone of him. And so at the start of this book, he is on iteration number 7 of himself. And so when the book starts, they think that he was in a situation where he died essentially, but he didn't die. And so when he gets back to home base, they have already made iteration number 8 of Mickey. And so when Mickey 7 gets back to the home base, he runs into Mickey 8. And one of the stipulations with being an expendable is they can never have 2 iterations of Mickey at a time. So Mickey 7 and Mickey 8 decide that neither one of them wants to get rid of the other one. So they are going to try to keep it between them, that both of them are there. So they're trying to keep it a secret from everybody else. So I just love like the banter between Mickey 7 and Mickey 8. I love how they are trying to keep this a secret from everybody else, and people are kind of like starting to catch on with what's going on between. That something strange is like going on with Mickey 7. I also kind of like the little inklings of like a plot that's like in the background of the story, but the story is really focused on Mickey 7, and I just loved everything about this story. And if you have not picked this up, I definitely would. I believe this is supposed to be like a duology, I think, but I cannot wait to pick up this next book. But yeah, I love this. I just had a smile on my face the entire time I was reading this. This at times made me like laugh out loud just with like how sarcastic Mickey is as a character, and I just realized after reading this that I just like sarcastic characters. So I just really enjoyed this one. So then the next question is the most beautiful book that I've bought this year or have received. And to be honest, I haven't really like, I bought a lot of books, of course, but I haven't really bought a lot of books that I feel like have stood out as being like really beautiful. But I have recently bought 2 books that I feel like the end pages of those books are really pretty. The first one being Hide by Kristen White. And so this one is supposed to be like people being trapped like at an amusement park or something or other, and they give you like a map of said amusement park, which I thought was really cool. I'm not sure if it's the same thing on the other side. Yeah, it's the same thing on the other side. But I thought that was really cool. The only thing that's not cool about this is I haven't really heard great reviews, so love that for me. But at least the inside of this is pretty. And then the other one that had really nice end pages was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. So if you take the dust jacket off, you have like this, I don't know what that is. The skeleton of like a dog? I don't know. And then you open it up. That's really pretty. And then, yeah, it's the same thing on the other side. But good thing for me is I've heard actually good things about this one, so that's promising. And then the last question is, what books do I want to read by the end of the year? And normally I would say like all of the books, but I actually am like focused on one particular series that I would like to finish by the end of the year, and that is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I have started that at the beginning of the year, and I've been like slowly working my way through that, and I just want to finish it by the end of the year. That's the only thing that I have like prioritized to make sure that I'm done with that by the end of the year, because I'm trying to get caught up on other things by Sarah J. Maas, and I just want to be done with this. Am I enjoying the series? Yes, it's fine. It hasn't like blown me out of the water or anything, but I just want to be done with it. So I could just move on. So that is like the only thing that I just want to be done with by the end of the year. But other than that, I have like all of the other things that I just want to be done with. But that is actually all that I have for you guys. Any video that I have mentioned, I will make sure that I will link those in my description bar. I will also link the video that I did last year, so my mid-year book freakout tag for 2021. If you guys are interested in that one, I'll have that one linked down below. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.